Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming and joining us today. Give it about a minute here. See people continuing to come in. Thank you for taking the time across the U.S. here today to join us in your different time zones. We'll get started in about a minute. All right. Well, I wanted to thank everybody for joining us today. We have some exciting platform here that we'd like to share with everyone. Emerson and their Movicon platform that they acquired from a European company. Having a lot of great conversations with customers about that, and look forward to continuing the conversations with all of you today. Scott, if you want to go to the next slide. Just a quick clarification on who we are and the partnership that all three companies here have with Emerson. TMMI was one of the more recent acquisitions by the Flow Control Group, and our partners, Simtech and CB Pacific, all share the Emerson brand, and we thought it'd be a good time to share across the U.S. since we have a lot of partners and customers that cross our regions to do a presentation like this and get together. CB Pacific and TMMI butt up against each other's region and cover most of the western United States, and Simtech is in the southeast. We have a lot of great resources that we share, and I think this will kind of shine our relationship, and as we grow together, we'll help all of our customers across the United States. If you do have any questions, either reach out to the person you know at your company, or you can make a comment in the Q&A section here today, and we'll make sure that we either reach out to you directly for a follow-up. Also, if you have any questions throughout the presentations today, please feel free to type something into the Q&A section, and we'll make sure that we address those questions either immediately or at the end during a Q&A section. Next slide. So one of the enticing strategies we use to get you guys to join today, and hopefully you'll find value in today's session as well as the other two that we have. The webinar is a series, and if you do attend all three sessions, your company will be given one free full license of everything that you see today. So it could be either used as small as an HMI project or a full-blown SCADA project for that end customer, or for you to use within your own facilities. So it's quite a nice offer to help you guys get started in your project or for a customer project as you move forward. We'll keep track of the attendees. We'll reach out to you at the end and make sure that you have access to that full license. Before we jump in and get started, and I hand this over to our Emerson partner, Scott, to continue on with some details, we would like to start off with a quick poll question. Today, the question that we're starting off with is, how soon is your next HMI project that is either an open specification, or you will have an evaluation period to evaluate the capabilities? This is just a chance for us to get an idea of how we can help you. So if you could take a quick second and fill out that poll question, we'll take a look at the results and keep moving forward. I would like to also, while you guys are filling out that poll question, introduce Scott Ludwig. He will go through the beginning or the middle part of our presentation and give you guys a good introduction to the Movicon.NExT platform. Like I said, please feel free to ask questions in the Q&A section, and we'll either address those on the fly or for sure at the end of the presentation. Following Scott's presentation and hands-on demo, we'll also dive into a project from kind of start to finish of how you can use the Movicon platform and show you how easy it is. And Tom Benke from Simtech will go through that as well. All right, so there's the results of the first poll question. And Scott, if you want to go ahead and take it away.
Sure, sounds good. Thanks, Brian. Yeah, so thanks for joining us today. And I just wanted to introduce you all to Movicon.NExT, a product born from a company with over 30 years experience in developing SCADA and HMI software. So today we're presenting the Movicon.NExT version 4, and just going to talk about the product capabilities and demo some of the screens that we've got. So Movicon.NExT is a fresh build of our Movicon technology. Movicon is short for monitoring, vision, and control. The software is built on the Microsoft.NET framework and has a whole new generation of graphics that utilize Windows Presentation Foundation, also known as WPF. We've got some high-performing native drivers that are included with the software, and also some web technology based on HTML5 and SVG. So the software is basically a single platform that you can install and really use all the features and functionality in one package. So just kind of talking about where Movicon.NExT can be used in the plant or in the field all the way up to the enterprise. So starting down at the ground level with our ConneXT product, really it's the heart of Movicon.NExT. It's the IO data server. So this is like your communication protocols, your drivers, your data loggers, alarm management, and so on. So you can utilize just the backend piece or backend components of the software to do communications to field devices and PLCs, and then use the OPC-UA server to send that information to other systems, and also log data to SQL or SQL-like databases. Moving up from there, we've got Movicon Web HMI. So this again utilizes the same technology and is all done in the same editor, but it's for deploying embedded, lightweight applications that are complete, let's say complete applications. So you've got your IO data server, drivers and so on, but you can target Linux devices and Windows devices. So these are for projects for like HMIs and very lightweight applications on very small devices, edge devices, and so on. So moving up from there, we've got Movicon.NExT. This is the full-blown SCADA and HMI product. So again, same editor as you would use for Web HMI and basically ConneXT, but it has all the full-blown capabilities for 3D graphics, VB.NET scripting, data loggers, and historians. So you can build out very powerful and very rich HMI applications, as well as SCADA and supervisory applications. If we move up another level, we've got some light MES and enterprise type modules. So Pro Energy and Pro Lean. These basically utilize the fundamentals of Movicon.NExT, like the data loggers, the reports, the screens, and some of the other components to provide you energy, analytics, and then also OEE metrics. So you can obtain overall equipment efficiency and also energy usage and consumption. And these modules work. They're not separate software, but they're basically like wizards that you step through. You fill out a form, and at the end, it automatically generates the screens, the reports, the data loggers inside your project. So it's a very simple process to get you from start to finish with minimal time and effort. And then off to the side of Movicon.NExT, we've got some different technologies like our Movicon.NExT web client. Web client can be deployed in a couple different ways. We've got the web client that's based on the full-blown WPF and IIS web client. So this is for a really rich experience where we support scripting and all the objects that are inside the product. So you can deploy it that way, or you can do a lightweight version and deploy an SVG web client. And this is a higher performing web client that utilizes our own built-in web server and also can have many more clients connected concurrently. If we look over to the left here, we've got our Movicon.NExT augmented reality. So we have the capability to build applications for wearable devices, tablets, and so on. So like cognitive recognition, you can hold a tablet up to a device. The software will recognize the device and overlay some screens and data, relative to that device. So that's done through the augmented reality and the apps that go along with that. One other part to mention with the Movicon.NExT web client is we do have native apps for iOS, Android, and Windows devices. So you can either use like any web browser, or you can use the native apps. A little bit on the architecture of Movicon.NExT. Again, the product, the company has a history of 30 years plus of designing and developing SCADA and HMI software. In this framework, we've got a focus around the OPC UA information model. So the product is built around that model and has capabilities for OPC UA client and server. The important part there is that any IO drivers and any tag creation is going to comply with that information model, and it allows you to share that data or connect to other devices, and they'll recognize the format. So the framework's at the middle here. So if we look at the back end, we've got an IO data server. This is where your native drivers live. We've got a library of about 40 drivers. This includes PLC drivers, field bus drivers like Modbus TCP, some building automation drivers like BACnet, and then also some IIoT drivers like MQTT and so on. The IO data server also manages the historian and data loggers. So we can log to local, Microsoft SQL, SQL Express, could be MySQL, could be SQLite or something like that. But we could also connect to cloud databases. We've got native connectors for Azure as well. And then through ADO and then also ODBC, you can connect to really any other SQL-like database like Postgres or something. IO data server also manages the alarms. So alarm notification happens through the IO data server to the client screens, but then also is historized inside of the database for long-term storage and historical analysis if that needs to be done. A couple other components of the IO data server. We've got a built-in alarm dispatcher that you can enable, and this will send notifications when alarms and events happen. We've got multiple plugins like email, SMS. We have a voice over IP plugin. There's a Telegram plugin. So multiple ways to get alarms and event notifications out of the system and into the people that need to know about them. There's also a recipe manager. This is for creating recipes or configurations that will be stored in a database that you can later recall, activate, and change for really any kind of system. It could be a system where you're producing some kind of product, but it could also be a configuration, let's say for summer, winter, spring, fall kind of settings. You can manage those through like a recipe manager. There's a scheduler and event functionality, so you can do time-based and also event-driven commands. So an example could be to, every morning at 7 o'clock, you want to send a report to a group of people. You could use the scheduler to do that. So that really is the, let's say the main components of the IO data server. Like I mentioned, there is a library of about 40 drivers that are included with the software. Besides that, we have an OPC UA client driver, so you can connect to third-party OPC UA servers. And then our IO data server is also has a certified OPC UA server capability. So you can, let's say, talk to some PLCs, multiple PLCs, field buses, get the data, tag data into Movicon, and then you could serve that out through an OPC UA server to other third-party clients. If we look at the top, then that sits on top of this, we've got our client. So these would be like your standard thick client. A standard configuration would be to have the IO data server and the client on the same computer. That would be like a local setup. And you have the really rich experience with the client. So it's a WPF and XAML based. So you've got really rich 2D and 3D graphic capabilities there. The other setup is also to run an IO data server remotely. It could be on a headless system, and then you can have remote clients connect, just through networking. And then off to the side, we've got our different web client technologies. So we've got, as I mentioned, the IIS web server for the really rich WPF web client. We've got our own web server for SVG web client connectivity, and then also an app server for all the various apps that we have for the software. So if you at the end of the slide, end of the presentation, if you go and download the software, you don't have to download multiple pieces of software, different modules. When you download it, you get all of this in one package. So it's again a very relatively small footprint on a computer. You don't need big servers or multiple servers to run this product. You basically download it and installs within 10 minutes, and you can be on your way and start building an application.
Hey, Scott, before you move to the next slide, quick question came in from Ray, and I think it's in the works, but is there a native communications with Emerson's Delta V product now that we're part of the same family? Or is that through OPC?
Yeah, there's some capabilities being discussed right now, but with some different direct drivers. But I think right now with OPC UA or another connector is what can be done at the moment.
Right, that's my understanding too. Great, thank you.
Yep. So again, Movicon.NExT just basically is built on an open framework. So you've got some capabilities for building controls and objects outside, and let's say in Visual Studio, and incorporating those into the software if you need to. Scalability, again, you can go from embedded communication connectivity applications only, like using connects. So this would be communication drivers, and then sharing that data with through OPC UA. Giving you connectivity really to numerous devices and other software. has some data analysis tools built in into some of the graphics. So you've got trending and charts and some different comparative analysis that you can do. And also a report tool that lets you develop your own custom reports for really any need. Software is built on some standards. We follow different standards for IEC for security, 21 CFR Part 11, GAMP 5. So these are some of the things you'll find already built in the software and that the software complies with.
Hey Scott, sorry to interrupt. Before we move on, we just have a quick poll question.
Yeah.
So is mobile device support requested by your clients on new or existing projects? We'll give you a few moments to answer that. Let's give it another few seconds. We can take a look at the results. All right, let's take a look. Looks like a majority of you, 25% of the time.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great. So with the 30 years of experience in this industry, the software has really grown in capabilities, but also in the industries it serves. So we can see here, various industries that Movicon.NExT can be found in, and the Movicon technology in general. So anything from manufacturing to food and beverage and automotive and so on, all the way to process control and water treatment. So it's a very versatile software that can be used and deployed for different vertical applications. With that, I'm going to just jump over into a demo application. So we'll just as I mentioned, after the presentation, you'll be able to download the software at the website. When you download the software, again, it includes all the capabilities, and even in the evaluation mode, you can develop an application and run it for up to 2 hours. So when you download and install the software, it comes with several example projects. This happens to be one of them. It's a project that lets you kind of look at some of the some examples that are done for different industries, so we can see manufacturing and process, water, wastewater, energy, and infrastructure. So I'm just going to kind of go through some of these screens just to talk about some of the objects and capabilities. Here we're looking at a machine line or a line overview in a manufacturing facility. All the graphics that you see on the screen here are part of our symbol library. So the symbol library has a variety of graphics, both 2D and 3D. These happen to be isometric graphics, but there's also, let's say flat graphics, some high performing graphics, and other objects that you're going to find in the symbol library. Really, all the objects can be animated and change color, background color, and so on through an animation designer tool. But it's very easy to add this kind of graphic capabilities to your screens. Some other objects you're going to find are gauges and various switches and LED lights and so on. Here's a representation of a machine. So we've got a filling machine and a capper. Again, with many of these objects being available in the symbol library, and then also the possibility to use some 3D graphics. So Just to elaborate on this a little bit, there's the inside of Movicon.NExT, you have the possibility to import 3D objects. So what we're looking at right now is a 3D model of a capper, and the 3D model can be imported, and you can actually in the runtime then manipulate the angle and the view of it. But more useful is you can actually set different camera angles so that maybe when an event happens in the system, maybe the alarm goes into, the motor goes into an alarm. You can actually call a different camera angle and have this object automatically rotate to highlight the area of concern. So I'm doing it manually right now, but you could actually set that to rotate to a certain area to show the operator exactly what's happening. All the animations that you see happening on this object are being done inside of Movicon. So for example, the color change on the motors, Movicon is managing that through just a standard animation. Also, the rotation you're seeing on this indexer is happening through Movicon, as well as the vertical animation here. So very powerful tool. Again, you can import these typically from like an AutoCAD or a 3D, SolidWorks or something. You can export to a XAML file and then import that directly into Movicon. The software has a library of analytic objects as well. So you can have 10 different trends and data analysis tools. This is kind of a simulation of our ProLean dashboard where you've got some OEE and KPIs for OEE, production targets and scrap and quality metrics. Again, so all these can be found inside of the symbol library and the toolbox. The product has a statistic analysis and statistics feature that you can enable on each tag. This basically allows Movicon, if enabled, to track different values on individual tags. So you can track like min and max and average value for the day, the week, the month, the year. You can do lifetime values. So let's say if you had a motor that was running, anytime it's running, Movicon would keep track of the total time on. So you can, maybe set some alarms or set some alerts to notify maintenance staff that, something needs to be, checked or monitored or attended to, and then they can actually reset these values using the built-in commands. Also, you'll find in the toolbox some really rich gauges and so on that can be added to the application as well. So I'm just going to jump over into a process. So this, again, just an example of a type of process application you could build out with recipe management to call different recipes, change them, save them to the database, and then load them to the PLC. So the tool and the recipe service manages all this. You really just do the configuration, add the objects to the screen, and everything else is managed for you by the software. So just looking at some other graphics here, we can see this is more of a flat design versus the isometric we saw in the manufacturing example. But again, you've got a full library of built-in objects that have really nice qualities. And these are graphics that you're not going to find in any other software because they're developed inside of the development team. Okay. So just a couple other analytic objects, like trends and some area charts, and as well as a pie chart here. If we take a look at the alarm management, Movicon offers several alarm viewing tools. So you've got capability to view your real-time alarms. You can categorize them. You can change color, whether they blink or not, the severity. and you can control how they're going to be shown inside of this tool. So you can focus on the more important alarms, through your design preferences. Besides the real-time tools, you've got like alarm banners. There's also a historical alarm viewer, so you can actually look at the alarm records that have been recorded into the database. Different conditions that happened, timestamp, and when they are acknowledged or reset. So these are all built-in tools. Again, you really just drag and drop them onto the screen, and all the connectivity is done automatically. Besides the historical alarms, you also have the ability to turn on the alarm analysis tool. This basically generates a couple different reports inside the project automatically, and you can view those reports. You could email these reports. You could create a trigger to send them based on some condition. But you have this really rich alarm designer that lets you create these reports and then view them in runtime or through the web client.
Hey, Scott, we had another question about alarms. Do you have to use a third-party tool for emailing alarms, or is that included?
No, the Alarm Dispatcher plugin has the capability of emailing alarms, doing SMS text messages, voice over IP, and Telegram. So it's built-in functionality. It's offered as an option, but there's no need to manage third-party a third-party software or another database or any other configuration. I think Tom maybe could just lightly touch on that when we get into the development environment, but yeah, it is included. So just hopefully that answered the question. Just a couple of screens, on some water, wastewater type application. Some of the objects, again, all these objects are available in the software. So no need to create your own graphics or do anything. Okay. All right. So this is another example of a energy type application. You can see again, there's some different charts that are used to monitor, different metrics and data that you want to display in different fashions. So you can configure those as you want. There's a library of schematic type graphics that you can add to the screen. So in this case, we've got some, like switch gears and transformers. A lot of these objects will have the capability for animations that are already built in. So like opening and closing, color change, and so on. So you really can just add them to your screens, attach a tag to them, and the animation will happen automatically. All right. Some other features that I think are unique to Movicon. We've got these capability for these slide out windows. So some applications, it's nice to keep the operator maybe on a certain screen, but then offer additional information, maybe some, an alarm summary, some trending or KPIs based on a process. So you can access these on a touch screen just by swiping from the top down, from the bottom up, or from the right or left, and you can actually have these little fly out windows in the runtime. From there, I'm going to just jump over to another demo just to show you the GeoSCADA capability. So GeoSCADA is our functionality where you can actually create mini screens or objects and give them a longitude and latitude. And then when you run the project in this GeoSCADA mode, those screens and objects will actually show up on a map. The map technologies could be based on Bing or Google. And when you put it into runtime, this is kind of what you can expect. So we've got these mini screens here that are showing up based on, again, the longitude, latitude. As I zoom in, you can show more detail. So you can set that, as you like. It's a development type of thing. So, if you want to have a zoom level and maybe there's 3 different zoom levels before, you show certain things, you can do that just through the design. The other thing this lets you do is, besides just showing like icons and kind of an overview status, is you can create commands so that if I click on that, I can actually open a screen that'll show maybe more information or any events or alarms that are happening for that, that station or that system. So again, it's very easy to do. It's just done through properties, and all the other difficulties and the integrating into the map is done automatically in the software. So we can just click on a couple of these here, and you can see various levels, some animation that's being done with this wind turbine, and so on.
Scott, I'm going to put you on the spot here again for a couple of good questions that came in. One, for a NOC or a central command center, does the application support multi-monitors? And if so, is it managed within Movicon.NExT?
Yeah, so the software, you can actually set screens or call screens to different monitors. So if let's say you're doing 2 or 3 monitors, you could have your main screen start on monitor 1, and then have some other screens start on monitor 2 and 3. And then from there, it's what kind of graphic card do you have, and what kind of support does it have for a larger array of monitors. But yeah, the software out of the box supports multi-monitor features, and you've got some different different APIs as well if you need to do some more customization through scripting. But yeah, that capability is there.
Great. And then one other question that came in was specifics to the map. You highlighted Google and Bing. Do you know by any chance, does it work with the ArcGIS mapping software?
I think we'd have to take that as a follow-up question.
Sure.
I know that depending on how the other software, the mapping software works, these are done through URLs. So if if the ArcGIS has a kind of a web functionality, it probably would work. But yeah, we'd have to double check on that with our R&D and
sure.
Come on that one.
Alex, thanks a lot for that question. We'll definitely follow up and get you an answer for that.
So yeah, I think with just touching on the geoscada, and if there isn't any other questions, I think we can jump over into the design environment and kind of show a little bit behind the scenes, how the software works and is configured, if Tom wants to take over.
Yeah, sure can. Thanks, Scott. Give me just a second here to grab the screen.
Sure.
All right, so hopefully everybody can see the development environment here. And just a quick note, what I'm running is just a downloaded unlicensed version of Movicon software. So I have full access in the development environment to create projects, and a lot of the features that Scott went over are all within this package. And as far as the licensing goes, anything I create in here, I can run and test with, and I've got a 2-hour window to do that. And then the license would provide me, obviously, the full runtime capabilities. So what I thought I would do for this section, again, just a little bit of time, so I got to do something really quick. I'm going to run through a quick kind of I call it kind of a hello world kind of HMI application. I'm going to throw a tank, a pump, some piping, and a couple buttons to turn the pump on and off onto the screen. So something real basic and simple, but again, just to kind of give you an idea of how or one approach you could take to develop within the software package. So I'm going to start off with doing an empty project, and I'm going to be targeting this as a local project, but you can see here that you also have the capabilities for setting this up as a distributed project, running off of a server to multiple displays, multiple workstations, or have redundant server capabilities right here at the very beginning. So I'm just going to give this a quick name and finish. So real briefly here, we'll have the development screen come up. Scott spent a little bit of time talking about the IO data server. And again, this is really kind of the heart of a Movicon application. This contains all the drivers, tags, interfaces, alarms. So all of that is kind of within the IO data server. And that's the piece that spins up and really makes the whole project work. Real quickly, I'm going to show adding in a driver. I'm not going to actually add one because I don't have anything connected to my system right now. But again, out of the box, you can see here pretty good coverage for most of the common PLCs and field buses that are available today or that are out there today. So there's a lot of good coverage for this. And then also show real quick, when you do select a PLC, you would have the capability to import tags from that PLC. So for a simple project like this, where I'm just running local, not connected, I'm going to just create some tags, but importing tags is something that would be available to you from an existing system. So I'm going to jump over here to my tag list, and I'm going to go ahead and add a new tag. So this first tag will be pump motor, and basically that's going to be my pump motor status, whether it's on or off. So whoops, I will set that as a Boolean. And then I'm going to go ahead and create another new tag that is my tank level, and I'll leave that as a float. All right, so for this simple of a project, that's really all I've got to do, or all I plan on setting up for the tags for the project. Go up here, I'm going to create a new screen. And I think just to make sure things don't run off the screen, I'm going to just set that up as a 1024 by 768 resolution screen. And I will call this main filling. Okay. All right. So as Scott mentioned, there's a lot of graphics that come with Movicon. So there's a really good selection of graphics you can pick from. Again, for something simple like this, I'm just going to grab a simple animated tank, and actually, I don't know how well you can see that on my screen, but these are animated tanks that I'm choosing from here. So I'm just going to grab one of those and drop it on the screen.